This is the Brattlecast. I'm Jordan Rich. My pleasure as always to be your co-host, along with the man himself, Ken Gloss, the proprietor of the famous Brattle bookshop in Boston. And we talk about all kinds of things. Of late, you've been focusing on behind the scenes, how things happen in the store. And today we're going to take you out of the shop, sort of go through the estate sale process from beginning to culmination. We could probably spend hours on this one, but I know you can hone it down a little bit. But tell us how it all starts.
Almost anything you ask me, I could spend hours on. If it has to do with books and stories and whatever. One of the things when you're dealing with a used and rare bookshop, or actually almost any business that deals with secondhand used items, yes, you want to sell things. Yes, you need to sell things. But what really drives the business is buying things. I mean, you can't sell it if you don't have it. And I do lots of publicity. I do the podcast. I do Antiques Roadshow. I do lectures so that people know our name and get in touch with us about selling. And what I thought it would be interesting is people ask me, well, how does that work? And it's the treasure hunt. It's the going out. Well, usually it starts off that someone gets in touch with us. They either call on the phone or nowadays email and show us what they have. But the way it starts is someone calls on the phone and they say, we have an estate, we're moving, or they're older and they're moving to the smaller place, or they've inherited books, or there can be a million different reasons. But the first question a lot of times is, how many books do you have? And usually the first answer is a lot. And then we go, well, okay, is that 50, 100, 500, 1,000, 5,000? So it's more to get the person to get a sense. And a lot of times they'll say we have a few hundred, we have a few thousand. Next question is, what kind of books do you have? And the first answer is fiction and nonfiction, which is every book ever done. So again, we'll ask a little bit more questions. Is there any particular area, subject, field, anything that unusual? And a lot of times people, you can just tell from the way they're talking, if they say, yes, we have rare books, or yes, we have 300 books on the history of Boston, or 200 books on fashion. Usually if they have a lot of books in one area or field, it usually means better books because someone's made an effort. Nowadays, what's actually made things much easier is a lot of times we'll say, are the books on shelves? If the books are on shelves, digital pictures of the shelves, 3, 4, 5 shelves at a time, we can see what it is. We might not see every single book, but we can get an idea of the collection. And that's sort of where that starts. And we look at emails and we look at pictures and we call back within 2 business days. And we always want to do things really quickly and efficiently. And then when we decide, okay, we want to see this library, we set up appointments. And we like to do that by phone. And one of the reasons I like to do that by phone is if I say, well, we can get out on Thursday the 19th, and the person says, well, no, actually Wednesday the 18th would be better. And then I say, well, we can't do it on the 18th. How about the 20th? And you go back and forth 2 or 3 times. On the phone, it takes a minute. By email, it can get really, really complicated. We like to do that. We set the appointment. We have an idea of how many books we're going after and where we're going. And most of the buys we have within an hour or 2 or 3 of the Boston area. Some go much further out, and we prepare for those. And actually, if you get much further out, like Philadelphia, New York, we might ask a few more questions to get a better idea. But we go out. I usually take an assistant with me. We have a pickup truck that holds 87 boxes that we get made. When we actually buy the boxes at a particular size from a particular box making company, we have thousands of them, but they're a particular size that are just good size for carrying a box full of books. Uh, we go out. Usually, when we get to the house, what I'll say to the people before, oh, the other thing we definitely say before we go out is if there are any books that you, your family, whoever else is involved in this are going to keep or mean something, do that before we get there. Because if someone calls me out and they have a wall full of books and they say, most of these are for sale, I look and go, that means every book you have to say, is this for sale? Is that for sale? And if people say, well, oh, wait a minute, that book, Uncle so and so or Aunt so and so or my grandma, not to be seem crass, but I don't care. In other words, it might be, sure, if that means something to you, keep it, put it aside, but I don't need to sit there for the 5 minutes that you're sentimentally deciding. So we ask people to do that, or even do it in 3 areas. These are the books you're going to keep. These are the books you definitely want to sell. This group of books, if they're worth $1 a piece, you're going to keep them. If they're worth $1,000 a piece, you're going to sell them. Because once it gets to be money, money is simple. It either works or it doesn't work. Whereas sentiment, that price we can't evaluate. Anyway, so we get out to the house. We find it. GPS has made that easier. I used to have hundreds of street maps and atlases and have a person who went with me would be saying, okay, take the next right. Go. GPS makes that easier in 90% of the cases. Get to the house. And what I say to the people is, look, show me everything. In other words, if it's a big house and there are books in the basement, the attic, this room, that, I say, show me everything first, very quickly, because I can get a perspective on what we need to see. I find it very difficult if someone says, well, look at this shelf. And I look at it and there might be good books. And then they go, okay, there's some books here. There's another one. And then they go, oh, well, there are books here. And it's like, wait a minute, how long is this going to take? Sometimes, too, if I see the second place that there are really, really good books, I'm much more willing to spend more time on the whole process. Then we look. In another question I ask people, is there anything particularly rare, particularly valuable, particularly high price? Because sometimes you go to an estate, there might be 2,000 or 3,000 books. There might be 2 books in that 2,000 or 3,000 that are worth 10 times what everything else combined is. So I ask, show, if you know, show me. Otherwise, then we start going through the estate, going through the books. One of the things that I find personally I have to be very careful of is that if the book in the collection are good books, but they're sort of things that I see over and over and over again. They're perfectly good. We definitely want to buy them, but I can do that really, really, really quickly. Normally, I can just look at the wall and go, okay, that's about this much. Go to the next room. That's about this much. And I can look at a few thousand books sometimes in 15 minutes and come up with a figure. I find in most cases that's not a good program because people don't think you're taking them seriously. You're doing this too fast. So a lot of times I'm saying to myself, slow down, slow down, slow down, pull a few out, look here, look there. Now, if the people have genuinely rare and high-priced books, that you definitely have to spend extra time on. So that process goes, you make an offer, you make a bid.
Can I ask a question before
Of
you move on?
course.
Have you had instances where you went into a situation unprepared, not because you didn't think you had prepared, but because people didn't tell you the whole story? In other words, when you get to a place, instead of 1,000 books, they have 10,000 books. Let's say it's upstate New York. What do you do in a situation like that?
Well, not only that, or sometimes people say they have 10,000 books and they end up having 300 books.
Yeah.
Yes, there are definitely times when we've gone in and we're not, ready for what they've said because they didn't give us a great description. I love it when it's too many. And then what we'll do is we'll go through the whole 5,000, 10,000. If the books appear to be particularly good, we might say, look, we take pictures of the shelves, the walls. We'll say, look, we'll go through these. We've got to make another appointment, come out, go through the rest. We can give you a ballpark idea. Um, then the question that will come up in that, what's your time frame? Does this have to be out by the end of the week, the end of the month, the end of the year? Because if you're moving huge quantities, uh, personally, another thing that I'm taking note of is this in the attic up a third floor attic that has no air and it's hot and it's the summertime? Is the basement damp? Uh, all those questions. What's the logistics of moving them? The next question is, are there other people involved? Is there relatives? Are there friends? Are there mother and father? Who's making the decision? Um, all of that gets asked. Most of it, we find that people don't call us if they're not really interested in selling things. And the the situations that for me are the best, or there are three situations that come up a lot. I'll go out, especially if I'm going out with a new employee who hasn't been doing this much. We'll go out, we'll look at a collection. The books are terrible, or the things that absolutely aren't any good. I'll look and I'll tell the people, well, maybe you want to donate it to the library book sale or a charity or something. Maybe it's been an hour and a half drive to get there, an hour and a half back. And a lot of times my employees say, gee, aren't you a little upset that we made all this time? I said, no. I said, it's not things we wanted. We went out there, we looked, it didn't work out. I didn't care about getting them. And what I even tell the people, because sometimes they feel bad, they've called me out. I said, look, if I didn't come out here and look at these books, I am convinced that I would have 2 weeks later a colleague go out to your house and they would have said, this was the greatest library. I was just shocked by how good it was. And then how do you think I would feel? So we go and look. The second case that can happen is you go out, you give a bid, the people say, that sounds perfectly fair. The next process is we want them out now, write a check. Maybe you work up a huge sweat moving 1,000 books, 1,500 books, but that's great because when you leave, I feel great. We bought some good books. Buying books means we're going to sell them, means we're going to make money. The ones that I find the most frustrating is when I go out to a house, they have really good books. We make what I feel is a really good offer, and they go, oh, well, we have to talk to our brother. We have to double check
Mm,
with our sister, uh, which many times means to me either they've got other people coming. A lot of times I'll ask, is this a bid or is this something you want to do now? But it, whatever it is that slows it down, if you don't do it almost right then and there, the chances of buying the things probably drop by 50%.
right.
And if they're things I want, it's like I get really, oh, I want these. I want to do it. I'll follow up with phone calls. Many times it still works. Sometimes it doesn't. And the one that got away, it's like the fish that you didn't pull in and reel in. And
Well,
those are the
that's
frustrating ones.
that's what makes you the king. I mean, that's what makes you the man, the go-to guy, at least as far as I'm concerned, and thousands of listeners around the world. It really is a matter of pride and excitement when you get to the
Oh,
find that you're looking for.
and another thing that's happened, and this is probably in the last 10 years, the one change in this that I've found is I get called a lot by people who are organizers, or there's a whole big industry that has grown and grown and grown of people who help people move, either elderly people moving, or it's a very emotional project. They can help take the emotion out of it. They can say, look here, call this real estate. And I get more and more calls
Mm.
from organizers, and I consider them, I don't ask as many questions about going out because most people, when they're selling books or selling their estate or moving, we get a call once. I want everybody happy because they're next door neighbor or they're friends and they'll recommend us, but they only have one library they're selling. Organizers or people who work in this field or movers, they'll call and they might call again next week. They might call again the week after. And we have a working relationship with a lot of people like that. And the main thing that they care about is efficiency, that if we say we're going to be there at a certain time, we're always there. If it's a matter of moving all the books, we do that quickly. Are their clients happy? We try to do the best we can to make their clients happy. Um, and or if they send us pictures and they just want information, is this worth pursuing, doing? What can we tell our clients? From pictures, we say, even if the books aren't for sale, even if they just want to know, we give out a lot of information like that because these are repeat customers with the states. And so there's all sorts of little intricacies that go on and on. Whatever, however it works, we love doing it. It's the treasure hunt aspect of it. It's going out. Staff likes it, even though it might be very heavy work. It breaks up the day, not doing the same things. And you see all sorts of different houses, anywhere from little cottages to huge mansions. You meet wonderful people. 99% of the people you meet are great, happy. Although I can tell you, we recently went out to somebody's house and we got to the house, and he had said they had 2,000 rare books. The house was literally half done in Tyvek that they'd been doing. It was obvious that it had been like that. We walk in, and the floors are rippled and missing. And I looked through the house relatively quickly. Probably the best book I saw in all of the books they had was a 2-volume set. One volume was in one room, the other that was warped and maybe worth $50.
Mm.
They probably had about 300 books, not 2,000. Someone who was dealing in pottery told them how valuable the books were. And I said, and I explained it all and went through it. And the person, I could tell when we left, we didn't try to buy anything. So it wasn't like we were trying to do anything. And I said, there's no advantage to me saying there isn't good. We left it, and I said to my staff person, they're not happy. They don't believe a word I'm saying. They still believe they have the rarest, most valuable
Well,
books.
that's the way the book pages turn.
That does happen occasionally, but overall, I'd say 90% of the people are happy. They recommend us. We're going out every day. It's wonderful. I enjoy the physical work, and I enjoy meeting people. And that's one of the main things.
A look behind the scenes. That's what we promised you. And boy, that was an amazing array of activity that involves going out and investigating and sometimes finding that treasure, sometimes not. Ken, as always, thank you so much.
Well, and that's the tip of the iceberg. I could go on. Well, you know that, and people who listen know that. But it is the fun in the calls. What I tell people is never feel you're bothering us. Call, email. I'd rather have 100 people call or email with nothing special than the 101st person say, I just threw away a fill in the blank, and you go, ah! Anyway, we'll leave with that.
We don't want you to go, ah! We want you to be happy. Happy bookseller. Thank you, Ken. Have a great day.
Thank you.